if you take an average competent adult, I mean, like someone who manages a mortgage, navigates, complex healthcare systems, keeps a whole career on track.
Right, a fully functioning adult.
Exactly. And you ask them to just sit down in a sterile room to take, I don't know, a final university exam in advanced calculus or macroeconomics.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they might panic.
Right. They might sweat. They will almost certainly complain about not having studied.
For sure.
But they will sit down, they will pick up the pencil, and they will face the test.
Because they have to, yeah.
But, okay, take that exact same capable adult, put them in a local coffee shop or like a neighborhood park, and ask them to just walk up to a total stranger and simply say hello.
Oh, boy.
With the genuine, stated intention of making a new friend.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game.
It is. A staggering number of people would actually choose the calculus exam.
I would choose the calculus exam.
Right. I mean, they would rather face complex, multivariable math than the sheer paralyzing terror of trying to initiate a platonic friendship at age 30.
It's so true. Because, well, the calculus exam, for all its difficulty, is a closed system,
What do you mean by closed system?
Like the rules are established before you ever even sit down in that chair. There is a clearly defined right answer and a wrong answer.
Right, the math doesn't judge you.
Exactly. Your personal worth isn't tied to, the derivation of an equation. You either know the formula or you don't.
Yeah.
But human connection, stepping up to a total stranger in a cafe, that is a landscape of complete and total psychological uncertainty.
Oh, completely.
You aren't just risking a bad grade, right? You are risking the visceral physical feeling of being rejected as a human being.
And that paralyzing fear, that incredibly relatable, deeply human terror is exactly what we are dissecting today. So welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We are exploring the fascinating, frequently terrifying world of adult friendships. And, our roadmap for this exploration comes from a really unexpected place today.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical psychology textbook.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Today, we are analyzing a unique set of materials from an English learning program called Skillify English.
Right.
Specifically, an overview of their conversational approach, which is titled The Art of Adult Connection.
And, it sounds totally counterintuitive, I know. A listener might be wondering, why on earth are we turning to an English learning program for a masterclass on adult social dynamics?
Yeah, why are we doing that? Because what is brilliant here is the subversive nature of the text.
Mm-hmm.
On the surface, this material is explicitly designed for B1 level English learners.
Right. It's meant to introduce foundational vocabulary and conversational flow.
Exactly. But secretly,
yeah,
it functions as an absolute Trojan horse.
Oh, 100%.
Within these language lessons is a profound, incredibly perceptive breakdown of human psychology and social anxiety.
It's wild how deep it gets.
It really is. So we're going to unpack the architecture of adult loneliness and the exact step-by-step framework this source provides to completely dismantle it.
But before we go any further, there is this fundamental reassurance embedded in the very first pages of this material that I think we really need to highlight.
No, please do.
The sources are extremely explicit about this. They say, if you are listening right now and feeling like a physical knot in your stomach at the mere thought of introducing yourself to a stranger.
Yep, the dreaded introduction.
Right. If you feel that, you are not alone. Everyone feels lonely sometimes. Everyone experiences this friction. The awkwardness you feel isn't a unique personal flaw or some kind of social deformity you have.
Yeah, it's not just a you problem.
Exactly. It is the baseline shared human experience in the modern era.
Okay, let's unpack this, because our mission today is to extract the wisdom from this source thoroughly, but, we are going to do it precisely how the material advises its own language learners to approach the curriculum.
Which is without the panic.
Without the panic. The source explicitly tells its learners to just let the information wash over them.
I love that phrase.
Right. No battling over perfect comprehension. No agonizing over grammar. So for the duration of this deep dive, to you listening right now, consider this your permission slip to stop treating your social life like a test you are failing.
Just let this conversation wash over you.
Exactly. So to fundamentally understand the framework they provide for making friends in the present, the source kind of forces us to take a stark look backward.
Right. Yeah, we have to analyze the before to really understand the after.
Right.
Specifically, we need to understand why connection used to be so completely frictionless for us.
And they use a brilliant visual for this. I mean, it's so simple. The sandbox.
Yes, the
The
sandbox.
material uses the childhood sandbox as the ultimate baseline for effortless connection. Because, think about it, when we were 5 years old, the mechanics of friendship were almost laughably simple.
Yeah, you're sitting in the sand, there's a kid next to you, you hand them a plastic shovel, and boom.
Best friends for life.
You were blood brothers now. It was instantaneous.
But why? What's fascinating here is, well, how the text breaks down the mechanics of that.
What's fascinating here is the absolute absence of ego in that childhood interaction. As the text implies, it required zero premeditation.
Zero.
A 5-year-old does not wake up, look in the mirror, and strategize their networking approach for the playground, you know?
Right, they aren't practicing their elevator pitch.
They don't worry about their personal brand. The connection relied entirely on shared action.
Shared action.
Yes, you are digging a hole. I am digging a hole. We are now colleagues in the business of hole digging.
I love that. Colleagues in hole digging.
There is absolutely no demand for a perfect opening line.
Right, you didn't have to deliver like a witty monologue to hand someone a plastic shovel.
No, just handing it over was enough.
But the source draws a really sharp, painful contrast between the sandbox and adulthood. They describe the modern adult experience of walking up to a stranger as absolutely terrifying.
And they aren't just using hyperbole there.
Not at all. The text details the specific physiological symptoms of this adulthood paralysis. Like you overthink every single word before it leaves your mouth. Your brain goes completely, startlingly blank. You feel like you have suddenly stepped into a high-pressure interview.
Oh man, that high-pressure interview metaphor does so much heavy lifting in this text.
So accurate.
Because it perfectly captures the internal reality of adult social anxiety. Think about what happens in an actual corporate interview.
Sweating, mostly.
Right, but also every single word you choose is being evaluated. Your posture is being scrutinized.
Yeah, they're judging everything.
Exactly. Your ultimate worth and your future are being calculated in real time by the person sitting across from you.
Wow, yeah.
The source suggests that adults carry that exact same evaluative terror into a coffee shop or a party.
Okay, but I have to stop you there, though, because I want to challenge this underlying premise just a bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because the sandbox analogy is cute, it's nostalgic, but it kind of falls apart for me when we apply it to adults.
Oh, so?
Well, as adults, we have highly specialized interests.
Yeah.
We have deep political convictions, right?
Yeah.
We have personal boundaries and complex life histories.
Yeah.
I don't want to be best friends with everyone I sit next to in a cafe.
Right.
So isn't this adulthood anxiety actually completely justified? Like the stakes are higher because the filtering process for finding a compatible adult is infinitely more complex than we both like sand.
That's a really fair point. But what's fascinating here is if we connect this to the bigger picture the source is painting, that instinct you are describing.
The filtering.
Yeah, the need to ruthlessly filter and evaluate, that is exactly the trap. You are confusing the result of a friendship with the initiation of one.
Oh, wow. Wait, say more about that.
The text isn't arguing that you should become soulmates with every single person who hands you a metaphorical shovel. It's arguing that the initial approach has become burdened with an impossible weight.
Meaning we are demanding way too much from the word hello.
Precisely. The stakes aren't practically higher. If you say an awkward hello to a guy at a bookstore and you two have nothing in common, you don't lose your job.
Right.
You don't get evicted from your apartment. Nothing bad actually happens.
But emotionally, it feels like something bad happens.
Exactly. As the text points out, emotionally, we project a lifetime of insecurities, fears of judgment, and this deep need for validation onto that tiny microscopic interaction.
We really do.
We turn a passing hello into a definitive referendum on our worth as human beings. We are no longer just offering a plastic shovel. We feel like we are offering up our entire soul for cross-examination.
Wow. We take the sandbox and we turn it into a courtroom.
A courtroom where you are always the one on trial.
A courtroom where we are putting ourselves on trial. And, you know, that transition moving from the action-oriented sandbox to the paralyzing courtroom of the high-pressure interview, that leads us right into the why. Like, why are we trapped in this internal courtroom?
Because the anxiety doesn't just spontaneously generate in our minds, right?
Exactly. It is practically baked into the physical environment of modern adulthood. The sources spend significant time dissecting what I'd call the architecture of isolation.
The architecture of isolation. It is the environmental foundation of adult loneliness.
Yeah.
Because we cannot fix the internal anxiety until we acknowledge this external reality.
Right. And the source makes a massive foundational claim here. They state that the single biggest reason making friends is so difficult for adults is the complete and total loss of a shared, consistent environment.
This is huge. Think back to school.
Yep.
For most of us, school is the last time we had a robust, easily accessible friend group. And the text points out that in school, you saw the exact same people every single day.
Every day. Proximity was doing, 90% of the sociological heavy lifting?
Easily. You didn't have to bravely invite someone out for coffee.
Yeah.
The school district literally mandated that you sit 24 inches away from this specific person for 8 hours a day.
5 days a week.
5 days a week for an entire academic year. You couldn't help but build familiarity. The sheer force of repeated, unavoidable exposure guaranteed it.
Yeah, attrition eventually wore down the awkwardness.
Exactly.
But then, graduation happens.
Right.
We lose that mandated proximity, and we enter what the source bleakly refers to as the adult loop.
Oh, the adult loop.
And their description of this daily adult routine is just breathtakingly stark. They reduce the modern adult existence to this exact phrase: wake up, look at our screens, work, and sleep.
It is an incredibly distilled, almost brutal summary. Wake up, screens, work, sleep, repeat.
The source says we literally just go through the motions, falling deep into a rut. But let's really linger on this rut for a second.
Yeah, let's look at it.
Because I think a lot of people hearing that might think, well, wait, my work is social. I have a Slack channel. I text people all day.
Right, they feel connected.
Yeah. So why does the text argue this routine is so isolating if we are technically communicating all day long?
This raises such an important question about the difference between communication and connection.
Oh, that's a great distinction.
If we extrapolate from the physical environment the text describes, the screen time is acting as a social placebo.
A placebo.
Yes. Your brain feels like it is engaging with humanity because you are scrolling through faces or firing off emails.
You're getting the little dopamine hits.
Exactly. It satiates the immediate surface-level craving for interaction, but it completely removes you from the physical communal spaces where unscripted, spontaneous connection actually occurs.
So the screen gives you the illusion of being in the sandbox while physically locking you in a solitary confinement cell.
Exactly that. I mean, you aren't going to linger at the neighborhood bakery to chat with the owner if you are rushing back to your home office to check a notification, right?
No, you're looking down at your phone the whole time.
Right. You aren't open to a serendipitous conversation on the train if your noise-canceling headphones are on and you are blindly going through the motions of the rut.
Yeah.
The rut is a closed loop. It is highly efficient for economic productivity and entirely hostile to the slow, inefficient process of building human trust.
Entirely hostile. Which brings us to a massive turning point in the material. If the modern environment is fundamentally hostile to connection, we can't just sit around and wait for the universe to deliver a best friend to our doorstep. Right.
We wish it would, but no.
We have to artificially build a new sandbox. And the source provides a rigid, actionable framework to do exactly that. Step one is that we have to actively force proximity.
We have to hack the adult schedule.
Yeah.
We have to intentionally recreate that geographical repetition we lost when we graduated.
The text calls this the repeated contact rule. And they draw a very hard line here.
We really do.
They emphasize that you cannot just meet someone once at a cocktail party or a networking mixer. You might have an incredible 2-hour conversation at a party, but if the environment doesn't mandate that you see them again, the friendship usually dies right there.
Yeah, it just fizzles out.
The rule is
Yeah.
you need to see them again and again.
The underlying psychology of the repeated contact rule is essential for dismantling that high-pressure interview mindset we talked about earlier.
How so?
Well, when you attend a one-off event like a random party or a single industry mixer, the psychological stakes are through the roof.
Right, because it's a one-and-done scenario.
Exactly. Consciously or subconsciously, that you have exactly one shot to make an impression. If you stumble over your words or make a bad joke, there is no tomorrow to correct the record.
You failed the interview.
You completely failed it.
But forced proximity changes the math.
Entirely. If you join a group where you know you are going to see the exact same cast of characters every single Tuesday evening for the next 8 weeks, it systematically destroys the anxiety of the one-shot impression.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
You do not have to be dazzling on day one. You can be completely quiet on day one.
Just exist in the room.
Yes. You can offer a brief, awkward nod on day 2. By day 3, the mere fact that you have mutually survived shared space begins to breed familiarity.
Right.
The repetition naturally lowers the stakes.
And the source gives some very tactile examples of how to execute this. They explicitly suggest signing up for a weekly language class, joining a community cooking group, or participating in a running club.
Yeah, very specific activities.
Right. And the secret sauce here is that these specific activities, as the text notes, naturally force you to share space.
And tying it directly back to our initial analogy, they naturally force you to share an action.
Ah, the sandbox.
Exactly. You aren't just sitting in a circle staring at each other waiting to be judged. You are focused on conjugating verbs or dicing tomatoes or keeping a steady pace on a trail.
The pressure's off.
Right. The spotlight is shifted off your social performance and onto the task. The socialization becomes a low-pressure byproduct of the environment.
This is where the source material deploys the first major concept from what they call their calm word tour.
The calm word tour.
Yeah, because they know that signing up for that cooking class is genuinely terrifying. So the concept they highlight is the comfort zone.
Now, comfort zone is a phrase we hear constantly in self-help spaces, often just as a cliche.
Totally. It's everywhere.
But what is vital here is how the text contextualizes its mechanical function. The text defines the comfort zone strictly as a situation where you feel safe, but you do not grow or take risks.
I really want to chew on that definition for a second. Feeling safe, but not growing. Because when you describe the rut, waking up, staring at screens, working, going to sleep, that sounds miserable.
It does.
It doesn't sound comfortable at all. It sounds like a grind. Why do they call it a comfort zone?
What a brilliant distinction to make. It isn't comfortable in the sense of being luxurious or joyful, you know? It is comfortable in the sense of being entirely predictable. The rut protects your ego. When you're moving from your bed to your laptop to your couch, you are 100% safe from social rejection. No one is going to roll their eyes at you. No one is going to decline your invitation to coffee.
You're perfectly safe.
Yes. But you have traded the possibility of growth and connection for absolute airtight protection against feeling foolish.
Wow. The fortress becomes a prison.
Yes. And the text is unequivocal. Leaving that heavily fortified comfort zone is the non-negotiable prerequisite for step 1.
You have to get out.
You cannot force proximity from the safety of your living room. You have to endure the physical discomfort of walking into a room full of strangers.
Okay, so let's role play this a little. You've taken the advice, you've left the comfort zone, you've signed up for the weekly community cooking class.
Okay, I'm there.
You walk in on Tuesday night,
Yeah.
you are physically in the room, you've achieved proximity, but, well, proximity alone doesn't actually create a bond, right?
No, it just sets the stage.
Right. You can stand next to someone chopping carrots for 6 weeks and never learn their last name. Eventually, you have to open your mouth.
Which is the exact moment the panic usually returns.
Yeah.
The safety of the shared action isn't enough if it remains totally silent.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because to cross that bridge from silent proximity to actual interaction, the source pushes us into step 2, the misunderstood art of small talk.
Ah, small talk.
And I know half of our audience just physically cringed at the phrase small talk.
I'm cringing a little bit.
Right. You're probably thinking, I hate small talk. I hate talking about the weather. It's so fake and superficial.
It is arguably the most universally maligned form of human communication. We culturally pride ourselves on despising it, demanding deep, meaningful conversations immediately.
Exactly. We all want to be deep. But the source material fiercely defends small talk.
They really do.
They explicitly point out that it gets a terrible reputation, but we are completely misunderstanding its purpose. It isn't just small or meaningless. It is the literal, mechanical beginning of connection.
Yeah.
Because, let's be real, if you turn to the person next to you in week 1 of the cooking class and immediately launch into your deepest childhood traumas or your profound fear of mortality.
They are going to slowly back away from you and perhaps alert the instructor.
Exactly.
Demanding immediate depth from a stranger isn't authentic. It's actually incredibly aggressive. It demands an unearned intimacy.
Yes. So what the source does here is dissect the immense unfair pressure we put on ourselves to bypass the small stuff. The text tackles the myth of the perfect opening line.
Oh, this is so important.
So many of us are paralyzed because we think we need to sound like characters in an Aaron Sorkin movie. We think we need brilliant, rapid-fire banter ready to go at all times.
Right, like we're on a sitcom.
But the text explicitly frees the reader from this burden.
They systematically dismantle the need for performance. The guidance they offer is wondrously pragmatic. Use what is already physically present in the room.
Don't invent anything.
Right. You do not have to invent a brilliant philosophical topic. Ask a mind-numbingly simple question about the class you are mutually attending. Make a totally benign comment about the weather outside.
The weather. The absolute cliché of terrible conversation. Why does the text tell us to use it?
Because commenting on the weather isn't actually about meteorology.
Okay, what is it about?
Think about the mechanics of the interaction. When you turn to someone and say, "Can you believe how hard it's raining out there?" You do not want a barometric pressure reading.
No, definitely not.
You are using a universally shared, completely neutral, zero-stakes experience as a ping on a radar. You are sending out a signal that says, "I am open to interacting." Are you?
Oh, I love that. A ping on a radar. I want to build on that, actually. It's exactly like a handshake.
A handshake, yeah.
If two people shake hands, the physical act of their palms touching doesn't contain any deep, profound philosophical meaning. It doesn't tell you about their hopes and dreams.
No.
But historically, what did a handshake prove? It proved you didn't have a weapon in your hand.
Oh, wow.
It proved you were safe.
Yeah.
It puts the other person at ease and signals that you are open for business. Small talk is the verbal handshake.
That is a phenomenal analogy, and it aligns perfectly with the source. Small talk is a calibration tool for mutual safety.
Mutual safety.
Yeah. And the source explicitly codifies this with a golden rule that I think should be framed on the wall of anyone struggling with social anxiety.
What's the rule?
The magic is not in being perfect. The magic is in sounding human.
Sounding human. That phrase just instantly drops the blood pressure, doesn't it?
It really does.
You don't have to be impressive. You don't have to be witty. You just have to be a flawed, normal person noticing that it is raining. And this philosophy ties directly into the next phase of the material's vocabulary lessons. They shift focus to the concept of being approachable.
Now, approachable is a word that often gets confused with physical attractiveness or extreme extroversion, you know?
Like you have to be the life of the party.
Exactly. But in the context of this source's mechanical breakdown, being approachable is defined by specific, actionable behaviors. It means presenting yourself as easy to talk to, friendly, and open.
And the text highlights that something as basic as a warm smile is the primary tool for approachability.
Just a smile.
Yeah, it's the nonverbal precursor to the verbal handshake we just talked about. A smile disarms the other person's internal, high-pressure interview anxiety. It physically signals the stakes are low here.
And once you have established that nonverbal safety, the text introduces the next phrase in the sequence to strike up a conversation.
Right.
The key element of their description here is starting to talk in a friendly, natural way. You aren't delivering a monologue. You are organically engaging with the shared environment.
And doing that allows you to achieve the final vocabulary goal of this sequence, to break the ice.
Break the ice.
Which is such a vivid idiom when you think about it. The ice is that thick, frozen, awkward tension that naturally exists between two strangers occupying the same space.
It is a deliberate progression. Presenting a warm smile makes you approachable. Noticing the shared environment allows you to strike up a natural conversation.
Right.
And that specific sequence of actions successfully breaks the ice. It is a formula to get you past the paralysis of the opening moment.
Okay, so let's check in on our hypothetical cooking class.
All right, back to the kitchen.
You smiled. You broke the ice by complaining about how dull the provided knives are. You survived the verbal handshake.
Success.
But we run into a new problem. You could only complain about the knives or the rain for so many weeks before the interaction stalls out.
Yeah, you hit a wall.
If you want a real friend, you can't live in the small talk forever.
No. Small talk establishes safety, but it does not establish intimacy. Eventually, you have to cross the bridge from being the friendly person at the cooking class to being an actual friend.
Which brings us to the most delicate phase of the source's framework. Step 3, the vulnerability leap.
The leap.
The text identifies a massive trap that capable adults fall into once they finally master the art of breaking the ice. Once we get comfortable with the small talk, we get stuck there. The text says we play it safe.
Playing it safe. The material is brutally observant about how we do this.
How so?
It notes that adults will consciously restrict their conversational topics to highly curated, completely neutral territories, like a local traffic or a sanitized summary of their job.
Keep it light, keep it breezy.
Exactly. We build a comfortable, impenetrable little fortress out of mundane, superficial details.
But why? If the whole goal of leaving the rut and joining the class was to make a friend, why do we actively self-sabotage by keeping the conversation so stubbornly shallow? Why do we build the fortress?
Because the fortress serves as a vital ego defense mechanism. The text hits on a deeply uncomfortable truth here.
Oh boy, what is it?
In these intermediate stages of connection, we are desperately trying to be impressive rather than real.
Trying to be impressive.
Yes. Think about it. If I only ever talk to you about the promotion I just got at work, or my very neutral, objective observations about the city's transit system.
Right, very safe topics.
I retain absolute control over my image. I am managing the PR of my own personality.
Wow, the PR of your personality.
Right. I do not risk you seeing any of my flaws, my insecurities, or my failures. I am playing it safe because being known is inherently dangerous.
But the text argues that this need for PR control is the exact thing killing the potential friendship. To build a real connection, the source says you have to systematically dismantle the impressive facade.
You have to drop the act.
You have to deliberately show a little bit of your real, unpolished self. And the specific tactical advice they give is brilliant. They suggest you share a small struggle.
The calibration of that phrase, a small struggle, is the genius of the vulnerability leap.
Why small?
Because again, you are not trauma dumping on someone who is just trying to learn how to make a risotto.
Right. My parents never loved me. Pass the salt.
Exactly. That's too much. You are offering a controlled glimpse behind the curtain of your perfection. It's saying, I am really struggling to understand the instructor's accent, or I always completely panic and burn the garlic when I try this at home.
It's intentionally admitting a minor incompetence. It's showing a tiny crack in the armor to prove that there is a real human being underneath all that PR.
Exactly.
And once you've shown that humanity, the text presents the ultimate actionable pivot. The crucible moment where the friendship is actually forged.
The moment of truth.
It requires taking a small but definitive risk.
Yeah.
Inviting the person to grab a tea or a coffee after class.
That invitation is the physical manifestation of the vulnerability leap. By asking them to coffee, you are fundamentally changing the terms of the relationship. You are saying, I value our interaction enough that I would like to extend it beyond this mandated, artificially forced proximity.
I want to see you outside the sandbox.
Exactly.
But it's terrifying because they might say no.
They might.
They might say they're too busy, which is just the polite adult way of saying, I don't want to.
And that risk of rejection is exactly why it is a leap. But the source insists that this specific risk is the necessary catalyst. Enduring the possibility of a no is the only way a casual, mandated chat transforms into a deep, voluntary friendship.
And this transition brings us to the final, perhaps most important word in the material's calm word tour. Genuine.
Genuine. The text defines it powerfully. Real, honest, and sincere.
I really want to contrast genuine with what we were talking about earlier, the high-pressure interview.
Okay, yeah.
In an interview, you aren't trying to be genuine. You were trying to be optimal. You were trying to be the best possible version of an employee.
Or you're wearing a mask.
But the text is arguing that true connection requires the exact opposite. You cannot achieve genuine interaction if you are constantly optimizing your performance to look perfect. Perfection is actively repelling the connection you want.
Perfection is cold. It is slippery. There is nothing for another human being to grab onto.
Oh, that's good. Slippery.
Vulnerability, sharing the small struggle, being genuine, that provides the friction necessary for two people to actually bond.
So taking a huge step back from all the granular steps, the proximity, the small talk, the vulnerability leap, I want to look at the meta layer of what we are reading.
The bigger picture.
Because it's so easy to forget that this entire psychological framework is wrapped in an English language learning program.
Right, for B1 learners.
And when you look at the structure as a whole, there is this incredible, profound philosophical alignment between the terrifying act of learning new language and the terrifying act of making a new friend.
The emotional barriers required for both pursuits are absolutely identical.
They really are. Early on in the source text, before they even get to the social dynamics, there is this fantastic, almost throwaway detail about their pedagogical approach.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
The hosts of the language program explicitly tell their listeners dictionary fights are banned.
A brilliant, liberating rule for a student.
Yes. They tell the language learners to stop pausing the audio every 10 seconds to look up a word they didn't catch. Stop obsessing over the direct translation.
Let it go.
Just relax. Let the English wash over you. Take what you do understand from the context and keep moving forward. Do not stress over every single syllable.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the sheer poetry of that instruction is staggering, because that advice isn't just about language comprehension.
No.
That is the exact definitive advice for overcoming social anxiety and making a human connection.
Yes. Don't have a dictionary fight in your social life.
Exactly. When you are trapped in that high-pressure interview mindset we discussed, staring at a stranger in a cafe, your brain blanking, sweating, yeah. You are essentially having an internal dictionary fight with yourself. You are aggressively policing your own vocabulary.
You're analyzing your syntax.
You are worrying that you didn't use the perfectly optimal, charismatic phrase to describe your weekend. The source is standing there saying, stop. Ban the internal dictionary fight.
Let the interaction wash over you. Take the good parts of the conversation, like the smile, the shared laugh about the weather, and don't demand a flawless performance from yourself.
And just as importantly, don't demand flawless Aaron Sorkin dialogue from the other person either.
Right. The magic is in sounding human, not in being a flawless walking dictionary.
And this philosophical alignment culminates in how the source views the concept of effort itself. The closing affirmation they offer to their students is incredibly powerful.
What do they say?
They tell the listener, the time you spent today struggling through this material, trying to understand, you didn't waste it. You invested it in yourself.
Time spent trying to learn a language or trying to connect with another human being is never wasted. Even if you stumble over a word.
Even if you stutter.
Even if you make the vulnerability leap and the conversation just stalls out into an awkward silence over coffee. It was not a waste.
The overarching, undeniable message of the text is about the willingness to try. It completely rejects the notion that you must wait for perfect confidence before you act.
Confidence doesn't come first.
No, the confidence does not come first. You act. You step out of the comfort zone. You initiate the awkward small talk. You invest the time.
And then the confidence comes.
The confidence eventually arrives later as a hard-earned byproduct of the repetition and the forced proximity.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring this entire journey together for everyone listening. We have traced the arc of human connection from the effortless, action-oriented simplicity of the childhood sandbox.
Handing over the shovel.
Right, all the way into the isolating, screen-filled, heavily fortified reality of the adult rut.
The loop.
We've learned that to break out of that prison, we have to consciously leave the comfort zone and force physical proximity through repeated, scheduled contact.
Weekly classes.
We have totally redeemed the concept of small talk, understanding it not as meaningless superficial chatter, but as the essential mechanical verbal handshake that proves we are safe and approachable.
Sounding human.
And we've seen that to cross the bridge into real friendship, we have to take the vulnerability leap, intentionally drop the need to be impressive, and share a genuine small struggle to prove our humanity.
And we've realized that executing this entire framework requires completely banning those internal dictionary fights that demand perfection from ourselves and from others.
Exactly. And I want to speak directly to you, the listener, right now. You do not have to be perfectly confident, charismatic, or optimally interesting to make friends as an adult.
Not at all.
You simply have to be willing to try and willing to be a little bit clumsy. That awkwardness you feel, that brain blanking, sweating terror of saying hello, it isn't a character flaw.
It's normal.
It doesn't mean you are broken or uniquely unlovable. It just means you are human, and you are stepping out of a comfort zone that was keeping you safe, but keeping you isolated.
This raises an important question, and I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today. Drawing directly on this incredible parallel between language and connection that the source revealed.
I'd love to hear it.
If the process of making friends is exactly like the process of learning a new language, meaning it inherently requires awkward, repeated practice, it demands forced immersion, it necessitates completely abandoning the ego's need for perfection, and it requires a willingness to speak out loud even when you know you sound foolish,
Right.
then perhaps chronic loneliness isn't a permanent personality trait.
Wow.
Perhaps it isn't an unchangeable, fixed fact about who you fundamentally are. Perhaps loneliness is just a language you haven't practiced speaking lately.
That is so powerful.
How might your daily routine, your deeply ingrained rut, change if you viewed your next passing interaction with a stranger, the barista, the person next to you on the train, not as a high-stakes evaluation of your worth, but simply as a low-stakes necessary practice session for a language you are slowly, bravely trying to fluently master?